You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And tonight, the Golden State Warriors had a 6-point lead with just 1:16 to play, but couldn't close out the Houston Rockets as they stormed back to secure their first victory in the rivalry since 2020. A very, very questionable foul call on a loose ball scrum with just 3.5 seconds remaining resulted in 2 Jalen Green free throws, which he sank to put the Rockets up by 1, and bad clock management by Stephen Curry, of all people, put them in this situation in the first place, and a poor final possession couldn't bail them out. With the loss tonight, the Warriors are now 15-1 against the Rockets since February of 2020, but are eliminated from the NBA Cup. We will break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And let's just skip right to the very end of this one. I mean, let's go over that very final very key play where that loose ball foul was called. I mean, you have first GP2 dives on that loose ball and throws a cross-court bailout pass, and it's just kind of knocked away. It's a loose ball scrum. Jalen Green gets there first. Jonathan Kuminga gets there second and tries to kind of reach in and just get a hand on the ball. He's just trying to force a jump ball in the situation. He's not really fouling Jalen Green, and he does have a hand on the ball. And it's very prototypical loose ball scrum play that's like 80 plus feet away from the basket, and a foul is called on the play, which the Warriors are up by 1 in this situation. I would have get it if they rewarded the Rockets with the timeout in this situation instead of calling the foul. Even that would have been kind of questionable to me, because establishing possession in that situation is questionable to say how long he really had that possession for, or if he did have possession when he was calling for that timeout. So tough play to officiate in general. But the one thing you absolutely cannot do in that situation is call a foul. And nobody wants to start the show by complaining about the officiating in a game. But my God, was it awful and atrocious all night long. And I mean on both sides. Like Kevon Looney, like just absolutely manhandled somebody driving the lane on the Rockets, like came down completely on top of them. And even on the TNT broadcast, they were saying, oh, that's a 90s type of contest right there, meaning it's a foul in the year 2024. And they just didn't call it. So, I mean, it went both ways. But unfortunately for the Warriors, in these closing minutes, they absolutely got hosed. And I mean, you don't want to end up in that situation in the first place. We can get into that in a little bit. But for that foul to be called, Steve Kerr, right before we just started this show, Steve Kerr just went on like a 2-minute long diatribe about that call, calling it unconscionable, saying he's never seen a foul like that called in the NBA in that kind of situation on a loose ball that's 80 plus feet away from the basket. He just went on and on and on and on. So definitely go check out that Steve Kerr quote and listen to that full soundbite. I saw it on Anthony Slater's Twitter after you're done listening to the show. But man, just an absolute terrible call. I'm sure we'll hear all about it in the 2-minute report that comes out. I'm just absolutely awful for an NBA game to end this way. Steve Kerr, also one of the comments he made saying, this is $1 billion industry. We can't have things like this happening at the ends of games. It feels like officiating this year has just been so inconsistent, so awful. I'm not saying just for the Warriors. I mean, across the entire NBA. If you're watching any game, just any random game on any night of the week, any national game, you flip it on, you will see stuff that just boggles your mind from every single officiating crew in the league right now. And I don't get it. They got to fix this though. This can't be it can't be this inconsistent. You know, you got to draw the line in the sand and make it clear what a foul is and what a foul isn't. Because right now, I don't even think most officiating crews can agree on what a foul is from one crew to another. So this just looks crazy right now. But again, the Warriors should not have been in this position in the first place. One thing that I think is going to get looked over a lot at the end of this game is the Warriors' clock management. That final possession that they had before that loose ball scrum, the Warriors could have taken that clock down just a little bit further and chucked up a shot at the very last second of that shot clock. And I mean, that's a hard thing to do, knowing, the defense is going to try and force you into a situation like that so they can time the contest just right and force a very tough shot. Hard to draw a rim or get anywhere close to it in that situation. But the Warriors, in that one situation, in that one possession, could have really ticked off a couple more seconds and made that basically, if the rebound had kicked out the way it did, it would have ended the game right then and there. Also, you could have not turned the ball over 4 or 5, however many times it was at the end of that game. I think 4 or 5 consecutive turnovers that ended in possessions that ended in turnovers for the Warriors. If you just get one possession that ends in a bucket out of those like 4 or 5 final possessions, you don't even need to worry about this. You force the Rockets to need 3 or 4 points, depending on the situation at the end, depending on what kind of shot you made. You force them into a situation where they have a much wider margin to make up, and they just couldn't get that one dagger shot. They could not get a possession that ended in a bucket. All they could do was turn the ball over there. The Draymond Green interior pass to Jonathan Kuminga that was just a hair out of his reach. The 24-second shot clock violation. All of these possessions just wasted, empty. And that was a theme for the Warriors throughout tonight. 22 turnovers for the Warriors tonight, 17 for the Houston Rockets. But the big key here is the points off turnovers. The Rockets put in 30 points off those 22 Warriors turnovers, and the Warriors only get 18 points off of those 17 Rockets turnovers. So the Rockets capitalize in those situations, and that right there is your ball game, folks. I mean, for this 1-point game, I mean, you just got your butt kicked all night long in the turnover department, in the transition department. And I mean, the Rockets also fast break points outscore the Warriors 12-8. They beat them in second chance points 12-9. They beat them in points in the paint 58-40. I mean, the Warriors, they did a good job rebounding, 53-45, out rebounding the Rockets, who, by the way, are one of the best rebounding teams in the league. They actually lead the NBA in rebounds per game. So you are able to out rebound them, but you are unable to turn that into more points, more possessions. Well, they turned it into more possessions. They just gave those possessions away. All these turnovers. You cannot win games against good teams with 20-plus turnovers. And the Rockets are a really good defensive team. We got to give them some credit where it's due. This Houston Rockets team is very long, very athletic, very fast, and they can switch almost everything out there. And it's a nightmare for an offense to try and game plan against this team. You saw that in the first half for the Warriors. The Warriors, I mean, the first quarter, 18 points. Second quarter, marginally better, 19 points. I mean, they could not score 20-plus points in a single quarter, scored 37 by halftime, and it was a miracle that the Warriors were only down 7 at that point. Jabari Smith Jr. seemed like he was getting whatever he wanted. I mean, that mid-range jumper of his when he is that athletic and that tall is impossible to guard. He can get that shot anytime he wants. But it was still crazy that the Warriors were somehow only down 7 at the half. Terrible shooting, 13 first-half turnovers. Rockets forced a bunch of 24-second shot clock violations. And, this was a big step back for that Steve Kerr secret sauce lineup that we saw in their last time out that seemed to unlock a little bit more spacing on offense for the Warriors, a little bit more shooting for the Warriors with Buddy Hield in that starting lineup. But the Warriors are, it just didn't work out for them the same way tonight that it did in their prior matchup. Where Buddy just absolutely went off tonight. He was okay. He had 15 points, 11 of those in the third quarter. That was a big deal. The Warriors' third quarter really put them back in this game after they just could not get anything going in that first half. But again, the Warriors in the first half just could not get anything to fall. And the Rockets, a really tough defensive team. They're one of the best in all of the NBA. So for the Warriors, only 38% shooting from the floor in the first half. In the second half, they were a little bit better, 50% from the floor in the second half, and that is really what kept them in this game. But again, turnovers all night long. You shot the ball fine from the floor in the second half. You would have won this game if you just didn't turn it over so much. If you had a little bit better, even situational awareness with how much time was left on that game clock and their final second to last possession. That final possession was just absolutely garbage, where they got Brandon Pajemski a leaning 3-point shot in the corner that got blocked. So that was not great. And man, Pods, just opening up that whole thing, he has not looked nearly the same as he did last year. This season, his scoring is down. It just seems like everything is a little bit down for Brandon Pajemski. You did have a big 3-pointer there in that fourth quarter, but again tonight, only 8 points off that bench on 3 of 9 shooting. It's just not what we were seeing from him last year. He's still doing all the other things, the drawing the charges, drew another one tonight, grabbing rebounds and assist numbers and all that. All those things are high, and grabbing steals, not really turning the ball over too much, but he's not putting the ball in the hoop. And sometimes you need him to be able to do that. And he did that a little bit better than he's been able to this season. It's really affected the Warriors bench output. And as of late, with Buddy being transitioned into this starting lineup, you got to have somebody on this bench score. And so far, nobody's really stepping up to the task. Those 8 points by Brandon Pajemski tied for the lead for the Warriors bench tonight with Lindy Waters, who also had 8 points off the bench. Past that, no one else over 4 points for the Warriors on the bench. So not a very good night for the Warriors. Super deep, 12-man rotation, but it seems like that's the novelty of that has started to wear off just a little bit. And the Warriors now struggling a little bit to find this offense. But again, the Houston Rockets, one of the very best defensive teams in the NBA. The Rockets just super long, number 2 in defensive rating. The Warriors number 4 in defensive rating in the NBA. But again, just too much. Alfred Şengün was amazing inside for the Rockets tonight. Draymond Green did a great job on him defensively in the second half. And there were some things with Draymond tonight that I think that we should talk about, because we always hear the national discourse of Draymond getting absolutely ripped for exercising zero self-control, and that's the narrative we hear, that Draymond Green has no self-control. And I think that tonight showed a lot of self-control from Draymond Green. I think that he had that on full display, especially late in that fourth quarter. I'll explain what I'm talking about next on the other side. Stick with us on the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Today's show is sponsored by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place your bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And today's show is also sponsored by Mint Mobile. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month, when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. And in a day and age where hidden fees are everywhere, how great is it that Mint Mobile is straight up with you? Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabyte on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and tonight the Warriors lose a nail-biter, 91-90. They really should have had this game. But no Andrew Wiggins tonight, worth mentioning. We didn't say that yet in the show, but yeah, no Wiggs again tonight. So the Warriors, without Wiggs, who's a big part of this team, clearly, still managed to almost pull one out over the Rockets. And this is a very good Houston team. They're 10-3 at home this season, and they're 17-8 overall. So a very, very, very solid Houston Rockets team, very, very good defensively. And this looked a lot like the last time that these two teams met. That was another very, very close game. I think the final score was 98-90, 99-93 in their last meeting just a couple weeks ago. And again, the Rockets hadn't beat the Warriors since 2020. It was 15 consecutive meetings until they won tonight. And I see the Houston Rockets fan base celebrating like they won the NBA Finals tonight. So congratulations, Houston. You are now 1-15 in the last 16 meetings against the Golden State Warriors. So how we got there, I mean, the turnovers, the fourth quarter collapse, the final, not really fourth quarter collapse, but the final minute collapse. And this has all been something that's been kind of a hallmark of this Warriors team this season is not really being able to close things out. And that's something that we saw at the end of last season as well, something that's lingered over into this year. One reason is not Draymond Green, though. This guy, defensively, down the stretch, he was unstoppable. Defensive player of the year type stuff we saw from Draymond at the end there. I mean, absolutely shut down Alperen Sengun in that fourth quarter there when he was absolutely rolling prior to that. I mean, Sengun in this game, he shot 50%, 4 of 8 from the field. He was getting to the line as well. 10 of 18 from the field for Sengun, 26 points for him on the night tonight as a whole. He was really, really, really good. 11 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals as well for him, but a -4 in plus minus. And that's a big deal because he's really eaten up the Warriors in their recent meetings. Draymond Green really forcing him into some really tough shots in that second half. But the Warriors doing a decent job on that interior defense led by Draymond Green. And I do have to give Draymond some props tonight. We always hear the national discourse of Draymond always, losing his head. He has no self-control, all those things. Well, tonight, if anyone else was listening to the TNT broadcast with the volume on and paying attention, you could hear, I think it was just one guy, maybe it was a couple different guys, who knows, but you could hear a guy very audibly all night long kind of heckling Draymond. And towards the end of the game, some of the stuff got visceral. And you heard some things going over the broadcast. And the thing that made Draymond turn around was, the guy said the 1 5-letter word that starts with the B, that generally, if you call any grown man that word, it's going to start a fight. And Draymond Green stopped. He was inbounding the ball, and he literally stopped, turned around, took about a step or two towards the fan and looked him dead in the eyes. You could tell that's what he was doing. Stopped himself, turned back around, inbounded the ball, went right to the ref, and had a conversation with the ref as he jogged down the court. And I guarantee you he was telling him, I need that guy to get out of here. And, we could have had a much worse situation than that if Draymond Green had decided to not stop himself from going, a few steps further. We have seen some of the worst scenes in NBA history between fans and players with those kinds of things, with somebody who was a former Warrior at that point in time in his career. He was not, but Steven Jackson, the Malice of the Palace, we all are very familiar with that. Him and Ron Artest and all those things. And when they were on the Pacers. So that we didn't have a replication of that tonight, which is very good. And that's a pretty low bar to clear. I'm not saying Draymond Green deserves an award for that. But things like this, it makes me think how much Draymond has to deal with this, him specifically, probably more than any other player in the NBA. And whether or not you think that is warranted or not is a completely different discussion. But the fact of the matter is, every night, Draymond Green is going out there and hearing that kind of stuff. And every single night, he's got to just do nothing about it. And that's got to be not the best position to be in. I mean, I get the, the millions of dollars and all that, kind of is an incentive to keep your head in those situations and not react. And I get that. But when you're being bombarded the way that a single player is singled out and just heckled relentlessly like Draymond is, I think we do need to give him some props for not reacting viscerally in the situations where he's able to kind of keep his cool. And Draymond's not going to be the guy to go and talk about it. I mean, it happened right after they reviewed the call for Draymond was called for a foul on Sengun when he kind of wrapped him up when Sengun went up for a layup, and Draymond grabbed him by the arms, didn't let him get the shot up. And it was reviewed for a flagrant foul. It was ruled to not be a flagrant foul, ended up being just a common foul. And the Houston Rockets fans just went nuts with the boos, with the ref you suck chant, and all those things. And then you could just hear all the visceral comments in the background flying at Draymond. You know how hot these mics are in the NBA nowadays. Like, you can watch any game and basically feel like you can hear every single person in the audience and all the players on the floor at the same time. I don't know how all these networks do this without getting relentlessly fined by the FCC for some of the words that are picked up over, public television broadcast. So anyways, point being, Draymond faces a lot of this every night, and he didn't do anything wrong to Şengün there. And that's not like, they played a physical game. There were some hard fouls between those two guys, but you saw them both after the game go up to each other, embrace each other, and you saw Draymond chopping it up with them a while after the game. I guarantee you he's going to talk about how good this guy is in his next podcast that he does, because Şengün is really, really, really good for the Rockets, man. This guy's only 22 years old and born in 2002. That makes me feel old as dirt. But this guy, 6'11", 243, is going to be a problem for the Rockets or a problem for the Warriors on the Houston Rockets for years to come. I mean, I don't like the fact that they have this guy, and he is so versatile, moves so well for a big man, and just has so much in his bag. So many. He can hit those runners. He can go over the top. He can hit the Euro step. He has so many different ways to hurt you in the paint, and he's got a nice jumper. So guy's a problem for the Warriors in the future, and so is the rest of this Rockets team, as much as it pains me to say. Jabari Smith Jr., he's a dude. Fred VanVleet, you saw him making some clutch threes tonight. I know he's the old man in the room along with Dillon Brooks, but the right veterans in that situation really teaching this young group of guys how to ball. Tari Eason, we saw him hurt the Warriors pretty bad earlier this year. Jalen Green obviously has been really good. And Amen Thompson, the Oakland product, man, this guy just plays awesome defense. Like, this guy is going to be coming for Draymond Green's title of best defender in the West sooner rather than later. I mean, Amen Thompson and his brother Asur is also really, really solid defender as well. Both of these guys just terrors on the defensive side of the ball. Asur, I believe, is still playing for the Pistons. But Amen Thompson, I mean, this guy had some great minutes for the Rockets tonight. On the defensive end, as well as cutting to the basket and constantly finding himself wide open. If you ever want to, I mean, it reminded me a lot of GP2. I mean, Amen Thompson is just GP2, but a bigger build. That's all he is, and a little bit more athletic. But both guys do the same stuff on offense. If you don't know what to do, cut to the basket. The easiest. You hear Bob Fitzgerald say it all the time. If you don't know what to do, cut to the basket. If you're looking for GP2 and don't know where to find him, look near the basket. I mean, that seems to be the same exact philosophy that Amen Thompson had. And the Warriors, again, struggled all night long, really trying to just get anything going offensively. It wasn't really the offense of the Rockets that hurt you tonight, even though Şengün had 26. It was really this stifling defense that really, really, really bogged the Warriors down. Only 31% from beyond the arc. Couldn't get it going again. Steph, 19 points. Kuminga led the way with 20. And I do want to talk a little bit about Jonathan Kuminga tonight. And, 5 offensive rebounds for this guy. He was really doing a lot of work down low for the Warriors. Jonathan Kuminga discussion, he's been taking a lot of steps forward. Is he turning into that number 2 that you want alongside Curry? I mean, it seems like we go hot and cold with this every single night. How are you feeling after tonight about maybe trading Jonathan Kuminga? You want to keep him now after he's been leading the team in scoring the last 2 nights, or you still want to trade him for another scorer to go alongside Steph? Let's talk about that next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. I love live events, from concerts to sporting events and everything in between, especially Sharks games this time of year, man. I've been loving going down to the tank, and I rely on Game Time to get my tickets. The first edition, the Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I also love the all-in pricing feature. Toggling this feature on shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Game Time also gives customers the lowest price guarantee, where Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And with Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Receipt of copy does not constitute an order. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Tonight, the Warriors lose by 1 on a really dumb play to the Houston Rockets at the end, a really dumb foul call on a really dumb red floor. Man, Steve Kerr even said pregame, he felt like he was descending into the depths of hell going to this Rockets arena tonight. And my God, what a tough watch. I mean, my eyes hurt so bad, man. I feel like I need to go get some of those blue light glasses and like an Excedrin or something, or like a whole bottle of Excedrin maybe, and like 2 liters of water. My brain hurts trying to watch that game all night long. Whose idea is it to have a red basketball court with an orange / like brown ball bouncing around there that you're supposed to follow along? Like, a terrible watch. Not just the floor too, but the game itself. Not a very great game to watch. Tons of turnovers, a very, very clunky basketball. Neither team finding their rhythm offensively. But the one guy who did seem to really have something going offensively tonight, Jonathan Kuminga. It's the second night in a row for the Warriors that he has really stepped up as the leading scorer. He's been playing better and better and better as of late. And it feels like every time that, I think Jonathan Kuminga is just so like mentally brain connected with the Warriors fan base for one reason and one reason only. It seems like every time that this fan base starts to say, maybe we should trade Kuminga and go get something else, it seems like Jonathan Kuminga steps up his game and becomes a guy who averages 20 to 25 points a game and gets, 5 to 7 rebounds a game, plays good defense and is making good decisions with the basketball. And who the heck is this guy? 8 of 20 tonight. It's 20 points on 20 shots. You hope the efficiency gets a little bit better. And of course, the 2 of 6 free throw shooting is atrocious. You absolutely need Jonathan Kuminga to get better at free throw shooting. He took a step forward last year and took a big step back this year. Last year, he was up around 75%. This year, he's in the 60s. Needs to get back up to around that 75% mark. But other than his free throw shooting, I have absolutely zero complaints about what Jonathan Kuminga has been doing lately for the Warriors. Hit a couple threes tonight for them and had 5 offensive rebounds for the Warriors. A ton of putbacks tonight for Kuminga over these long, tall, lanky Houston Rockets. And Kuminga is like the only big body guy on the Warriors capable of doing that. I love, there was one possession where I think he missed his own driving layup, and I think he grabbed 2 offensive rebounds before he was able to put the ball back in the cylinder. But for the putback bucket. But Kuminga tonight, just the grittiness, the effort, the hustle, and knowing where to play within the offense. The mental decisions that he's making with the basketball and when to pass and when to drive, when to cut, all these different things are improving on a daily basis. So do you still want to trade him? Do you still think, the big name being floated around out there is Jimmy Butler. I keep saying over and over, Cam Thomas is who I want. I don't know that the Nets are willing to trade him, but that is still who I want on the Warriors. I don't think he's going to cost nearly as much as someone like Jimmy Butler. But do you give up Jonathan Kuminga for Jimmy Butler? They've also been talking about LeBron James. I've also said I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think LeBron's leaving LA in his nice cushy life down there with his son on his basketball team that he basically just drafted, used playing puppeteer, lay GM, as they like to say on the Twitter machine. But I don't think LeBron's coming here. But would you be willing to trade Jonathan Kuminga for Jimmy Butler? It's a very interesting, intriguing trade. Jonathan Kuminga going to be a restricted free agent at the end of this season. Does Jimmy Butler do it for you? The tantalizing, absolutely tantalizing, titillating, if you will, thought of Jimmy Butler being paired with Draymond Green and Stephen Curry in the playoffs. Ooh, baby, that could be something spicy, something to work with. That could lead the Warriors to another, I think, Western Conference Finals. I think that pairing of those 3, or that grouping of those 3, would be incredibly difficult to stop. And just the absolute dog that Jimmy Butler is, along with Draymond Green. Could you imagine opposing teams trying to play offense against those 2 guys, throwing a Kevon Looney to anchor down the middle of that defense? And ooh, man, do I love that defense in closing minutes. It's an intriguing idea. Does that outweigh what you get from Jonathan Kuminga and the potential that is there? That has been the question the entire time. I think, honestly, it's a tough decision. Personally, I like Jonathan Kuminga. I think that he's been taking a lot of steps forward, but I think at this point, you have held on to this guy for so long, just claiming potential, and it's been so slow to develop, and you don't have that much time with Steph and Draymond left. We already abandoned the 2 timeline thing once. We don't need to get back into a 2 timeline thing again. There's only one timeline, and it is the Stephen Curry timeline. As long as Steph Curry is here, you do whatever you can to get this team closer to winning a championship. And I do think that getting rid of Jonathan Kuminga for Jimmy Butler would get you a little bit closer this year, albeit marginally. I don't know that that gets you substantially closer. I don't know that that puts the Warriors over the top to become a championship threat. But I think it gets you closer than where they're at now. And I think if that's the case, that you absolutely have to do it. We'll see what Mike Dunleavy does. He said that, publicly that the Warriors are searching for trades. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do not expect the Warriors to sit around and do absolutely nothing as we hit the trade deadline. But I also don't expect them to force a deal. If Dunleavy doesn't like the deal, if he feels like the Warriors are getting, a little bit swindled, like Mike Dunleavy seems like a guy whose main philosophy in trading is don't get got. Don't end up on the losing side of a trade where everybody is just dunking on you and coming, being the guy to follow in Bob Myers' footsteps. I don't blame him for having that mentality, but I also don't think that that's a bad mentality to have for the Warriors. I think that while you have Steph here, you just need to not screw it up. And if you can just not screw it up and you just add some pieces around him, you're gonna make the team better. So don't screw it up at the trade deadline. Don't move more than you have to. And if it costs more than Jonathan Kuminga to go get a Jimmy Butler and something like that, then probably don't do it. I don't know that the return at that point would be worth it. But if it's doable, go get Jimmy Butler. I still think Cam Thomas, that's my favorite. That's my pick. I don't know that the Nets are willing to trade him. But go ahead. Kuminga might not even come back next year anyway. So if the Warriors don't want to match that with the qualifying offers and all that, maybe Kuminga ends up somewhere else at the end of this season anyways. Do we really want another Blake Snell situation, but the Warriors version? I know I don't. So that's my thoughts on that. That's my 2 cents. I think the Warriors need to go make a trade to make this team better. And if you got to move Kuminga to do it, do it. Even though you see him getting better every night, even though he led the Warriors in scoring again tonight, and he looked like the most effective thing that they had going on offense for the majority of this game. That's all the time that we got for you guys today. The Warriors lose this one in just head-shaking fashion. Like, this did not need to come down to the final possession. If they just got their turnovers under control, this didn't need to be what it was. The foul at the end just was the cherry on top of this BS game. I'm glad this one's over and I don't have to watch any more of this garbage basketball on that garbage red court. And I'm going to go to bed and rest my eyes and probably take a handful of Excedrin and see how my head feels tomorrow morning. Just please, no more red courts. Steve Kerr didn't really seem to like it either. That descending into the depths of hell comment made me laugh pretty hard that he made pregame. That's all the time that we got for you guys today. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. This is the Locked On Warriors postcast. Tune in next time as the Warriors are going to be taking on the Mavericks on the 15th. We'll come to you live. Game starts at 5:30. We'll be coming to you live after that one. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.